All right, folks, let's set the scene. It's 1912, a time when men wore top hats unironically, women's dresses weighed more than a small horse, and icebergs were the ultimate party crashers. Enter the Titanic, the unsinkable ship. Or so they thought. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. This wasn't just any ship, no. This was a floating palace, a behemoth of luxury so grand it made your grandma's bingo night look like a backyard BBQ. The Titanic was setting sail on its maiden voyage, and everyone was like, this is going to be the trip of the century. Famous last words, right? Because, spoiler alert, icebergs don't care about your plans. Now, let's meet our star-crossed lovers. First up, Jack. Or, as his mom probably called him when he was in trouble, Jacob. But Jack sounds way cooler, like a guy who's got his life together. Spoiler, he doesn't. Jack called himself an artist, though his masterpiece was a painting of a tree that looked suspiciously like a lollipop. He won his Titanic ticket in a poker game, which is ironic because Jack was about as good at poker as he was at painting, which is to say, spectacularly bad. He once went all in with a pair of twos, squinting at his cards like they were written in hieroglyphics. Needless to say, he lost. A lot. Then there's Rose. Full name, Rosalinda. But Rose is way more chic, darling. She was your classic high society dame, engaged to a guy named Cal, full name, Caligula. Yes, really, his parents clearly had a sense of humor. Cal was rich, arrogant, and about as charming as a root canal. Rose was bored with her posh life. She sighed so dramatically that even the chandeliers in the dining room trembled in sympathy. Honestly, Rose got bored if her tea took more than 30 seconds to steep. Our lovebirds meet in the most romantic way possible. Rose is trying to jump off the ship, because nothing says meet cute like attempted suicide. Jack, who was probably just wandering around looking for something to not paint, spots her and, like a true hero or a really nosy guy, stops her. Rose swooned dramatically, or maybe she was just lightheaded from all the corset tightening, and thus begins their whirlwind romance. Rose falls for Jack because he's there, and Jack falls for Rose because she's rich. Okay, and maybe a little pretty. Their love burns brighter than a candle in a hurricane, intense, chaotic, and probably doomed. Meanwhile, Cal is not amused. He tries to sabotage Jack with the subtlety of a bull in a china shop, like the time he framed Jack for stealing Rose's necklace, only for it to magically reappear in his own pocket. Awkward. Fast forward to the fateful night of April 14th. The ship is gliding through the ocean like a fancy bathtub toy. The band is playing, the champagne is flowing, and everyone's pretending to enjoy the small talk. Then, bam! The Titanic hits an iceberg. At first, everyone's like, hey, probably just a big wave. But then water starts pouring in, and reality hits harder than Cal's ego. Chaos erupts. The band stops playing, thankfully because their rendition of Nearer My God to Thee was questionable, and the ship turns into a floating panic attack. Cal, ever the gentleman, is ready to trample women, children, and possibly a small dog to save himself. Meanwhile, Rose discovers her inner action hero, though she still complains about the cold. Priorities, right? Jack and Rose are now in full survival mode. Lifeboats are scarcer than a decent Wi-Fi signal, and everyone's elbowing each other like it's Black Friday at Walmart. Jack and Rose end up clinging to a floating plank, because apparently the Titanic didn't have enough lifeboats for everyone. Budget cuts, am I right? And then comes this scene. You know the one. Rose is sprawled on the door, looking like a soggy supermodel, while Jack is in the water, turning into a human popsicle. Rose weeps dramatically and Jack grins gamely, or maybe his teeth were just chattering uncontrollably from hypothermia. Rose vows eternal love, and Jack becomes a legend, and by legend, I mean a frozen statue. But wait, there's a twist. Rose gets rescued, and who does she see in another lifeboat? Calculations. Turns out he survived by being a coward. Shocking, right? Rose has an epiphany, snatches his jewels, and, because why not, throws herself back into the ocean. Because nothing says true love like a dramatic suicide pact. And so Jack and Rose reunite in the afterlife, surrounded by fish and awkward silence. Meanwhile, Cal is left on the rescue ship, empty-handed and probably regretting his life choices. The end. Or is it?